Good morning, scientists. Welcome to our third day of digital learning. Today I'm going to introduce to you our Activity 6, Modeling Molecules. I think this activity is going to be more of a review for you, so let's get started. So our guiding question for Activity 6, how do atoms combine to form molecules? Our vocabulary words are atom, compound, element, molecule, scale, subscript, and chemical formula. The objectives that I want you to learn for this lesson, I want you to be able to explain how substances are made from different types of atoms, which combine with one another in various ways, how atoms form molecules that range in size from 2 to 2,000 of atoms, 2,000s of atoms, develop a model to predict and or describe phenomena that can't be observed. So our first vocabulary word, we have the atom, which we know is the basic building block of all matter. We know that atoms themselves are made up of smaller particles with our protons and neutrons in the nucleus of the atom and electrons buzzing around the nucleus like a bee. We call that the proton is responsible for the identity of the atom, and atoms make up elements. And each element, recall, has a different number of protons in the nucleus of its atom. So all hydrogen atoms have 1 proton in its nucleus, all helium atoms have 2 protons in its nucleus, and so forth. An element, we know, is the simplest pure substance that cannot be broken down by chemical reactions. So this is a great model right here of elements where we have atoms that are bonded together. See how they're kind of overlapped? That typically means that they are bonded together. And so you'll notice that the element hydrogen, for example, is 2 hydrogens bonded together. You don't see any other kind of element here. And that's the real difference between elements and compounds. Elements make up compounds. So you'll see in this particular model how we have 2 hydrogen atoms bonded with 1 oxygen atom. So just like we have compound words where we have 2 words put together make a compound, here we have 2 elements put together make up a compound, and they have to be different kinds of atoms to be a compound. So as the definition says, a compound is a substance made up of more than 1 element joined by a chemical bond. A molecule is 2 or more atoms held together by chemical bonds. So in every example that I've given you today, these are all molecules because they are 2 or more atoms that are chemically bonded together. And finally, a mixture is a substance that is made by combining 2 or more different materials, but is not chemically bonded together. No chemical reaction occurs. They're just basically hanging out in the same space. So for example, M&Ms, the different colors hanging out in the same space, that would be an example of a mixture. In this image here, you will see that we have an example of just an atom of an element. And how you can identify that this is 1 atom is that they're all the same color and there's only 1 there. Taking a look at the second, you'll notice the difference is these are molecules. Now these are molecules of an element because they are the same color. They are the exact same atom that's bonded together. This would be an example of a compound. This is an example of a compound because you can see that we have more than 1 type of atom or element chemically bonded together. And then finally, this would be a mixture. This is a mixture here because we have atoms, elements, and compounds all hanging out together in the same space. Notice they are not chemically bonded together. And that's really the main difference between a mixture versus other compounds, molecules, and elements that are chemically bonded together. You can see that they're not bonded together. So what I'd like for you to do now on this slide, I'd like for you to go ahead and quiz yourself. What is an element, molecule, compound, mixture? Match its definition as well as the image provided. Once you are done with that, I'd like for you to go on back into Google Class, and I want you to set up for Activity 6. I want you to watch the YouTube video on elements and compounds. Then there's a reading that I'd like for you to read on elements, compounds, and mixtures. And then there's a quizzes to help you practice. The quizzes is basically just what we've been doing thus far. We are identifying different models as elements, compounds, or mixtures. In the quizzes practice, I put together different images for you to really analyze what's going on in the picture. Is it going to be just an element? Is it going to be a mixture of compounds and elements, as you can see here? Notice that these two molecules are different from here. This is a compound, we have another compound here, and we have an element here hanging out in the same space. So this would be a mixture of two different kinds of compounds and one atom. This would be an example of two compounds that are the same, hanging out in the same space. This would be an example of an element where we have two of the same atoms chemically bonded together. Another set of the same atom chemically bonded together, hanging out in the same space, so therefore it is an element. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me, or if you're into this slide, you can actually start a chat with me as well. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. And hopefully this was helpful. Let me know. And have a wonderful day. This is all due Thursday, the 26th.